Thank you, Julia. Welcome to Recovery Dharma, everybody. My name is Josh. I'm one of the facilitators here at Soul Center. Um, we're coming up on the end of April, which has been our month to explore the fourth noble truth. Julia brings forth monthly topics, and for 2026, she has um, set out the entire year of monthly topics as sort of a Buddhism 101. We've explored Noble Truths 1 through 4 in January to April. And then going forward for the rest of the year, we'll be focusing on the rest of the 8 months, um, each individual step in the Eightfold Path. Um, the Eightfold Path is the existence of the Eightfold Path is what the Fourth Noble Truth is. And it's a path of thought and action that leads towards the cessation or the easing of discomfort. Um, in traditional Buddhism, you hear the term suffering expressed. It's the first noble truth being that there does exist suffering. Julia's reimagined the terminology a little bit and has brought forth discomfort as a uh, substitute or companion to suffering, making it a little more approachable. And this month we've been talking about getting to this fourth noble truth of this path that's available to us. Um, it's the idea of a path. In one of the earlier meditations this month, I believe it was Julia was talking about the folds in the path. It's a folded eightfold path. And I imagined at the time, taking a piece of cloth and folding it 8 times. And what happens when you do that? You don't just get 8 layers of fabric, right? It's incredibly dense, something that's folded 8 times. Um, and this path, the idea of it is something that is so elegant and so simple, and yet here we are, a couple thousand years later, uh, and it's still something that is a great topic for conversation since the Buddha first brought it forth, was it 2,600 years ago? Um, I was, well, I'll tell you, I recently retired, and the I don't know if it's a federal law or state law. As a retired guy, I had to get a couple more bird feeders to hang around my house. So I'm one of those guys now, and it's springtime here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was sitting in my backyard. Me and my wife were watching the birds do what they do, and they're great little creatures. They're mean as hell to each other, and at the same time, they all take turns for their slot at the perch. Um, I think about 50 cents of every dollar I've spent on birdseed just gets tossed over their shoulders into my grass. Um, and I was just laying there, and the sun is shining, and it's springtime, everything's in bloom. And I thought it was a feather. Little tiny feather starts drifting down towards where me and my wife are on our couch outside. And my wife puts her hand out, and thing lands right in her hand. And rather than being a feather, it was a pair of little seeds that had little uh, puffy attachments to them to help them float in the wind to disperse. And I started thinking how, like, this whole big picture of everything I'm looking at is so intentional. Um, the from the birds doing what they're doing, me and my wife sitting out on the back porch, the the trees are in bloom, the flowers are coming up, and I wouldn't go so far as to ascribe human level of awareness to every living thing around me, but at the same time, every living thing around me is existing on a path that whether I understand it or not, whether humanity will ever be able to understand on a level that how plants communicate with each other, which we know they do, animals communicate with each other, they have to have some level of awareness. Um, and there's an intentional design, especially thinking about plants, where they're on a path. They don't just randomly throw out flowers in the middle of winter. Um, they they drop their leaves at the appropriate time. They react when their neighbors are under attack with pests or disease. They bolster their defenses. So we see that at a plant level. We know animals do this. Um, and I think as humans, we have gotten so smart that we have tricked ourselves off of this path. Um, there's plenty of good things about being so, if you want to call it smart, we're super intelligent, but I think sometimes that allows us to talk ourselves out of traveling on the path that we're really meant to be traveling on. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I know this practice certainly helps me with my staying staying the course way better than I used to. You know, reminder, this is a recovery program. Um, that's it was very easy to step away from wise actions and wise thoughts. But being on this path and making it an intentional thing, I don't know if I'll ever be one with the little birds and the plants in my yard, but I I feel like I'm definitely a lot more in line with myself than I used to be. So I put together a little meditation and I hope you will all join me. So I'm going to, oh, sorry, I'm going to invite my chime to sing here. So go ahead and find yourself a comfortable position, whatever works for you, whether in stillness or in motion. If you are able to find a position of stillness, whether you're sitting or lying, and if it feels safe, go ahead and close your eyes or soften your gaze. And just begin with a few natural breaths in and out, not forcing anything, not trying to go slow or fast, just breathing and simply notice the breath going in and the breath going out. And as you let your breath find its own rhythm, imagine you're sitting at the edge of an ancient oak grove. The air is calm, cool, and alive with the subtle music of leaves overhead. And at your feet is an acorn, small little whole nut containing within the potential for growth. Notice the acorn as if seeing it for the first time. Its rough little cap, smooth shell, a little point, and notice a tiny little seam where it looks like it might open someday. As you breathe, really imagine that acorn. Imagine it. Allow it to be in the forefront of your thought. just sitting there like a bell waiting to be rung. Sense this acorn as embodying the first of the Noble Eightfold Path, right view or understanding. This is seeing things as they are, impermanent but connected. The acorn seems inanimate without any awareness, but it contains the capacity to become something much bigger. In its stillness is the truth that all beings follow a path of arising, staying, changing, moving, passing. Allow this understanding to settle. You, me, and all beings move along a path. And in nature, that path is visible and available to any heart that chooses to notice. Now imagine that acorn warming in the sunshine. And imagine noticing just the slightest pulse of life. You can sense that within, a quiet intention is forming, an intention to grow. This is like right intention, the second step of the Eightfold Path. The gentle, wholesome resolve to act with kindness, harmlessness, and openness. As you breathe, notice if there is a similar intention in your own heart, a simple resolve to be present, to cultivate care for yourself and for others, and breathe with that intention, letting it glow like a tiny ember in the center of your chest. Now picture that acorn resting on a bed of soil. The soil isn't quiet, but if you listen, it's speaking in many silent ways, many small ways. Little bugs and worms crawling through, the seeping of water, a chorus of roots and fungi. Right speech is the speech that fosters harmony, truth, and healing. And as the acorn listens to the earth's quiet communication, notice how you can listen to yourself, to your inner voice. Let words arise that are truthful, gentle, compassionate. Imagine that each breath carries a soft, kind word into the earth, into yourself, and out into the world. Now, as you bring your attention back to that acorn, picture a crack in the shell. Tiny little crack, opening just enough for a tiny root and shoot to break free. This is right action. Simple movements aligned with the intention within. The tiny root sinks anchoring in the earth. The shoot reaches upward toward the light. See right action in each small choice that you make that nourishes life rather than causes harm. A breath taken before speaking, a hand extended for help, a choice for moderation rather than giving in to our negative habit energy. As you picture that acorn beginning to act, feel yourself aligning with right action in your body and your mind, resting, breathing, being kind. Now, as we sit in that oak grove, time goes by. Picture that the seed has become a sapling now, small, slender, gangly, reaching up like an adolescent child. Doesn't aspire for power or greatness. It simply fulfills its nature. Right livelihood is living in a way that sustains life and does not cause suffering. Imagine the sapling finding ways to be of use in the world, holding the soil together, feeding birds, shading other seedlings. Reflect on the ways that your livelihood can be a gift. Honest, harmless, beneficial, and breathe in the sense of integrity and purpose that comes from right livelihood. Now, as more years pass quickly by in the oak grove, imagine that sapling growing into a big tree, enduring frost and cold winters, drought, windstorms, hot sun. Right effort is the consistent energy that helps us to let go of what causes harm. See that young trunk thickening with persistent, steady effort, tiny rings forming each season, bark getting thicker, roots going deeper and getting stronger. Offer yourself the same steady effort now, a willingness to cultivate patience, compassion, and clarity. With each inhale, gather effort that is balanced, not forced. And with each exhale, release tension and impatience. As our oak tree grows, certain awareness develops. Its leaves unfurl, sensing the sunlight. The tree learns the subtle language of weather and season. Right mindfulness is the clear, present awareness that wakes us up to the present moment, the shifting light, the wind, the rain. As you breathe, bring your attention to your own body again, noticing the flow of air at your nostrils, the rise and fall of your chest. Notice the sensations, thoughts, and feelings, just as a tree notices sun and rain, with steady attention, but without clinging. As the oak tree grows large, develops its deep roots that steady it against the storms, it has its own right concentration. Our tree is focused and calm, and right concentration will do the same for us. Imagine a deepening stillness beneath the branches, a single steady awareness like the roots that hold the tree, and rest your mind in that stillness, using the breath or a soft point of attention. If thoughts come, just see them as birds alighting on the branches of the tree. Notice them land and then watch them fly away. And then return to your own calm center, to the root that keeps you steady through the passing weather. And as you breathe, picture that oak tree, from a tiny acorn to a large ancient tree, and invite a gentle curiosity. Ask yourself, where are you on this path that the oak tree just took? Perhaps you're an acorn, new to intention and seeing, or maybe a sapling, learning through small actions. Maybe you're a mature tree, offering shade and shelter. Wherever you are, all these stages are part of the same process. Allow compassion for yourself wherever you are on the path. It's not a race, but an unfolding. And each stage, each step holds its own beauty and its own wisdom. Namaste. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Always good to see your faces. I'd like to offer dedication of merit. May the intentions and insights cultivated here tonight benefit all beings. May this practice help seeds of wisdom take root. May suffering be eased, and may the light of compassion and understanding grow wide and deep. Namaste, friends.